I hear you perfectly, man.
Nice.
You feeling all right?
I'm feeling good. I'm at Houston Texans practice. It is very hot. Forgive me if I might be sweating, but it's good. I'm on my, I think I'm on my eighth or ninth or maybe 10th team. I'm not sure, but it's been a couple of them.
All right. Well, as you know, my brother, we ended up getting the news here on what's going on with Mr. Stephen Ross and
I
Bruce
did
Beal.
notice that. Yep.
Yeah, you did. You noticed it. And obviously, we have all the statements out and all of this. Uh, Ian, you know, I get it that you can't force anybody to sell, but this is an ownership group that is not wanted here by the Dolphin fan base and not trusted. And how can you trust an owner that is constantly putting his team in a really difficult position? And the screwed up part about all of this is I can tell you that Chris Greer didn't want Peyton or didn't want Brady or didn't want Watson. This was all either Flo or the ownership group, trying to go in other directions. So you're not allowing football people to do their job here. And this owner
Yeah.
both owners are getting in the way.
Yeah. I would say that's probably true. And with the one, not the one problem, but one of the problems in Miami is there's a lot of voices. And when you have an owner like Stephen Ross, who, um, I've been doing this for 10 years, and I honestly cannot remember someone so brazenly ignoring all the rules. It is honestly incredible. And, I know his statement was talking about how he was exonerated. That was not what the NFL said. What the NFL said was he said those words. Obviously, Brian Flores believed that he meant those words. What they couldn't do is come to grips with the context of it. So he sort of decided that. So the NFL sort of decided not to punish them for that, but punish them, instead for the tampering, not as much for the tanking, but still, it all happened. So everything that Flores alleged happened. They now lose a first round draft pick. They lose a third round draft pick. That's value. That's real value, and that's going to hurt the team, especially if they end up needing a quarterback after this year.
Well, and that's what Greer and company have done a marvelous job of keeping themselves flexible every year, salary
Yeah.
wise. And they've kept themselves flexible in the draft by having extra picks and having more ammunition year in and year out because they're kind of planning ahead. And you got to
Right.
love the way they're kind of designing all of this. And look,
I
I'm not.
mean, yes, beforehand, but now, like that's a tough reality because they've done all this great work with collecting draft picks, and then because of something that was so avoidable. I mean, the Bucks were never trading Tom Brady. They were never trading Tom Brady. Never. So doing all of this for something that was never going to happen is such an unforced error. It's almost hard to fathom.
Well, how about this? Let's just go to the real extreme here. Let's say you do get to trade for Tom Brady. Well, you were going to give up a shitload of picks, and then eventually you were going to get busted for tampering. And now Brady would have been actually officially suspended for you also, and you would have lost pick for tampering. This is what would have happened anyways.
Yeah.
So you would
Yeah.
have put yourself in a really difficult position. Or if Watson, you give up a boatload of picks, and he's going to miss a whole bunch of games this season. So this season would have been a wash again, and you would have had to wait till next year.
Well,
And
the Watson thing I would have understood because if he misses 6 games and they have him for 10 years, that's to me that's worth it. The Brady thing, if it's for 1 or 2 years, that would not be worth it. And again, like if he's comes on as a part owner, okay, I guess I get it sort of, but then he's gonna. It's against league rules for him to come in and be the quarterback. All the other owners would have to vote on. There's no way they would have voted yes, and the Bucks would never have traded. It's so beyond normal, reasonable thinking that it's really hard to come to grips with, honestly.
all right, so I'm going to also, and you kind of intimated on it. Clearly, he did, try to tank, and to me, the league didn't go after him because that would have been bad on the entire Shield, and that's why if you go on the tanking thing, then you're building relationships up with betting services and things like that. Like the McGonaghy stuff that happened in the NBA that put it. And back then, sports leagues weren't involved with betting at that time. They wanted to stay away from that. Now
Right.
you're in bed with them. And so the league, no way could have gone after Ross in the end for the tanking, because that would have been a black eye for all 32 instead. Correct?
Yes. No, I don't believe so. I don't think that's why. I don't think that's why they sort of didn't go after him for the tanking. I think it was more that, if you're going to punish someone for something, like those meetings with Brady and Sean Payton, those happened. There's no debate about what was going on there. There is some debate about, the context of Stephen Ross's comment, not in the mind of Brian Flores, but in the mind of some other people. So if they weren't 100% sure, and you couldn't penalize them like they needed to be penalized, plus they were already penalizing them for the tampering. So that's kind of why that went that way. I mean, the league, was pretty clear that Stephen Ross did something. The Dolphins did something. So I don't think they're worried about, quote unquote, the shield. I think they would prefer just this tanking did not happen, and they want to make sure that no other team tries to do what they did.
All right, Ian, what happens with Watson? Because I would imagine that in the end, Goodell's going to try to lay down a stronger suspension than the 6 games that was handed by the investigator.
Yeah, I mean that's what people think, but we don't know. And one thing we've learned in the Deshaun Watson situation. I mean, think about how many different reports were like, "Oh, sources say he's going to get a year, 12 games, 6 games, 4." I mean, it was some of the craziest reporting I've ever seen, and now the same people are going back and predicting that the NFL will appeal. The reality is we don't know. They have 24 hours to make a decision Thursday morning. If the NFL is going to appeal, then there's so much else that goes into it, because Deshaun Watson will take him to federal court and then, really go after some of the lack of discipline from some of the owners. So that would be an issue. It will be the story of the 2022 season, just like it was the story of last season. Does the NFL want that? For just a couple more games, do they want to let Deshaun Watson take over the season again? I mean, these are all legitimate questions. Frankly, we just don't know the answer to those questions.
What's your gut tell you?
I don't know. And that's one great thing that I've learned in watching everyone report on Watson is my personal feeling, the feeling of people really connected. It's all so meaningless that actual opinions don't matter in this, because it's invariably going to be wrong.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I totally understand that, but it's just one of those situations that it's not a good look for the league. It just isn't, and
Which
it
part
ends
of
up
it, though?
the suspension. It just doesn't seem
Yeah,
like
but
enough, because it seems, man, listen, it just seems like this is a guy that's getting away with, probably some crimes here. You know what I mean? It's kind of what the
yeah, I mean,
feeling you
as
get,
far as
and
crimes, I mean, the only thing I know is that 2 grand juries looked into it by 2 female district attorneys, and both declined to indict. So, officially no crimes, wasn't exonerated, but they declined to indict. And, now it's a third, and this is what he gets. So, I certainly understand it. At some point, though, it is what it is. 6 games is where it stands now. And, we'll see if the league decides to take it on and all the other issues that would come with it.
I wonder how women still support this league. I got to be quite honest. It just, they can't ever feel like they are respected by the NFL, because when there are crimes against women, it just seems like, think about this, man. Bruce Beal's getting a longer suspension than Deshaun Watson. You're better off tampering with women than you are with players.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Deshaun Watson situation with, the year investigation and the 2 grand juries, I think at this point, it is what it is, and I'll sort of let the investigation stand where it does.
I get that. I get that. I get all of that. I still feel, I think I know what Ben Roethlisberger did. I still feel like I know what O.J. Simpson did. When Bill Clinton tells me he didn't inhale, I kind of know what he did already. it's one of these things that I understand the technicality behind it. I'm sorry. I'm just, you know, I've been lied to, deceived, misled so much in my life. It's just hard. I'm so jaded at this point. It's hard for me to believe what you're just telling me that, okay, well, the jury said if it doesn't fit it, you must acquit. Okay, whatever. You know what I mean? It's just one of those that it just leaves me completely. I think a lot of people feel like I do. It's just I'm kind of like tired of the BS. That's all. It's just one of those deals.
Yeah, and
Sucks.
judging from social media, I think some people are outraged, but to me, like, I don't know any outcome in this entire thing that would have left people not outraged. Really, any way, any
True.
punishment, any number.
You're right.
It's almost something where, like, and I know for the judge, all the judge can do is try to do what's right and what she believes, and no matter what happens, everyone's going to be upset.
Yeah. And in the end, you have to have that physical proof, and that's what we had with Ray Rice that we haven't had with some of these other cases.
Right.
And I get it.
Right, and and the NFL interviewed more than 10 women and ended up presenting 4. None, with none of the women claiming that there was violence. That colors the decision because in the end, that's what she ended up basing her ruling on.
Right. I'm with you there. All right. What are you working on over at the NFL Network so folks can check you out, my brother, throughout the week?
So I am at Texans camp right now. I'll be talking to some people today and reporting with my buddy James Palmer all day from here. I go to Denver tomorrow, and then James is over there. Yep. Say hi. James, wave. James.
There we go. What's up, James?
And then I go to Denver tomorrow. James is going to take me out to dinner. And then I go to the Saints on Friday, and then I get to go home for a day and back out again. So
love it.
When we next talk, I will be – I have no idea where I'll be, but I'll be in somewhere strange again.
Will you have a hurricane at O'Brien's when you're in New Orleans?
No, I get in too late. I get in like 10:45. It's so bad, I know. Awful.
Anyways, if you have a hurricane, you may not be able to do your job the next day. So it's you might want to stay away from that. Although, that's how I end every year at the Senior Bowl. After I'm there all week, Friday I end in New Orleans, and I've got myself a Perdomo cigar in hand and a grenade or a hurricane in the other hand, and I'm just walking that whole thing, just being entertained by the craziness.
Yeah, that's exactly what it should be, yes.
That's exactly what it is. All right. Follow him on Twitter at Rap Sheet. And, of course, catch him every week here with the Red Recover look around the NFL. Ian, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you. We'll catch up next week.
Awesome. Always look forward to it, man. Take care.
Thank you, my brother.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.